Hi, I'm CJ Elmer with Transwest Truck Trailer RV in Frederick, Colorado. We've got a brand new Cimarron Stierwalt Signature Series air ride trailer sitting behind us here. So if you're in the market for a show cattle trailer, this guy here is one of many that we keep on hand and on order at all times. This is a really well-equipped trailer. Before we start walking you through it, let's go ahead and take a look at the drawing because I want to show you some specs on this guy. So we're looking 30 foot on the floor on this guy. It is 8 foot wide. We're 6'4" tall. This one here is going to have a 6 foot front tack room, and then you're going to have 24 foot of usable stall space with 2 traveling gates on this guy. So again, 30 foot on the floor. Like I mentioned, this is air ride. We're going to talk a lot about that air ride when we're walking through this trailer itself and showing you all the cool features. So the Stierwalt series are really well equipped as they are, but we always like to put a few add-ons just based on how customers are using them, how we build a lot of trailers for customers, and then we try to incorporate that into our actual inventory itself. So we kind of keep about 3 different versions of this 30-foot air ride on hand, on order at all times. We try to hit 3 different kind of price points for you, so they have kind of some different features. Obviously, we can always add items onto these trailers after the fact. But again, a very usable trailer that we're going to walk through here and really well equipped. So right here at the nose, a couple things. We'll start at the top and work down. If you notice on the top, you know, this is an 8 foot wide trailer. Having those 3 marker lights on the top rail is definitely nice. We were doing that to a lot of trailers when we were building custom trailers, our big living quarters, our big trainer trailers, these big cattle trailers. Now that's a standard feature there. You're going to get the stainless sheeted nose. That's standard on this model here. And then the VP style nose. So you see that bigger upper top rail and the lower rail. When we get to the side, I'll point that out and you can see how that looks from the side view as well. On this, you're going to get a B&W 25,000 pound rated coupler. So this guy here is the 3rd generation that we've worked with B&W and Cimarron. This one here has a lower profile handle with the lower hole drilled into it. That way, if you are pulling this with a bigger truck, maybe even a hauler, something along those lines, we can really make sure this trailer is running level with plenty of bed clearance, but equal weight distribution on those axles. Okay, underneath, you're gonna get a electric over hydraulic jack with the manual override by EQ Solutions. So in emergency situations, you know, batteries low, we're having a power issue, something along those lines, we can pump this on or off the truck. Definitely a nice feature there. This is the only version that we actually put through our parts and service department after the fact because we're big believers in it. We're really happy that Cimarron does it as well. You know, it has a 12,000 pound lift capacity on it, but boy, you get in those type of situations and it is nice to have. Recently we had a customer trade a trailer in that had a cheaper version of this on it that didn't have the manual override, and they told us they got in one circumstance where that became an issue and it was a big problem, and the trailer they traded in on, that was one of the very first things they looked at. They looked over at this jack and said, perfect, it's got that override. You know, we wish we would have done that on the first one, and we're never going to have a trailer without it, just because in those type of scenarios, again, it is nice to have that peace of mind. You hope you never have to, but there are times. Spare tires located to the left of it. It is going to be that aluminum wheel. We'll show you those when we get to the axle part of the video and the trailer itself. But in here, you're going to get, with the hydraulic jack, you're going to get the battery box. So the aluminum battery box. This has one 12-volt battery. There's room for additional if you want to, or if you want to just store maybe some small tools, something like that in there, you can. Battery disconnect comes with this whole system. Years ago, we just were the ones that were constantly putting the disconnects on our trailers. And then Cimarron made it a standard feature with this setup, which we're really happy about, because the last thing you want to do when you park this trailer somewhere at a show, at home, is just reach up here and turn this guy to off, and it'll kill all power to this trailer. I'll show you all the lights this trailer has. And the last thing we want to do is accidentally leave something on, drain the battery down, and then we come to the trailer to hook up and dead battery. Now we either have to jump the battery or, you know, again, manually hook it up. But again, you can do that, but this is again a nice feature. Just reach up there and turn it off. This black box over here to the left became standard shortly after the 25 models. came out. Now it is standard with this package here. If it's got the battery and the hydraulic jack on it, it's a RedArc charger. And what this is a true 3-staging charger. I always like to just say this is a supercharger for your battery versus your truck that used to work would constantly just work as more of a trickle charger, just really slow. This guy here will really keep this battery nice and charged up, giving a lot more life and longevity to it. The other thing that we love is we get so many different tow vehicles coming in here to pick up new trucks or new trailers that as soon as we plug it into the truck, we can tell if we have power coming from the tow vehicle. I know Fords, you have to synchronize them. You know, these newer Fords synchronize them to get 12-volt power. I mean, we're constantly learning about these truck manufacturers more than you would think we'd want to, but we do have to keep up on them and know some of these little tricks, and we learn things all the time. But this is a great way for us to just plug in and say, hey, we have power coming from the truck. If there's another issue from there, then we can, you know, isolate it and work backwards. But we always like to start at power source and work backwards. The other thing too is it'll help from actually tripping if something is low, you know, tripping a fuse on your truck, you know, when you go to hit this hydraulic jack with all that power that it draws from there. And that's where this guy's actually going to house right here. So I love these hydraulic jacks for multiple reasons. One, you're going to put a lot of tack on the front of this trailer, and maybe you're going to leave a lot of that tack. You know, you have tack in the barn, tack on the trailer you're going to take to shows, and you just want to leave it. So instead of hand cranking these heavier trailers up, it's nice to reach up here and push a button, up, down it goes. But if you're traveling with younger juniors, you know, they can help guide you back, and you can literally just sit there with your foot on the brake instead of that truck rocking, and they can push a button and just drop it on the truck, so they can help out there as well. And then the last thing, kind of tucked over on the side by that aluminum battery box, is going to be our air ride control. So the compressor is self-contained. We don't have to have an external power or a air source like on your truck or anything like that. It's all right here on the trailer. So if you have different tow vehicles, you want to upgrade trucks, everything's right here. It's really easy to use. It's on off, it's lower raise, and then there's a cable that actually clears the lines, because air creates condensation. Condensation can freeze and crack and do damage to maybe some lines. So we've done some how-to videos on how to operate it and how to shut it down that we can send to you in a really condensed version, but it's really simple. When you're towing it, you have it on and you have it raised, and when you park it, you turn it off, you lower it, and you clear the lines, and you hit your battery disconnect when you walk away from the trailer. Now, I mentioned that this trailer here has the VP style, or the wraparound style nose versus the VP style. That is standard on the Signature series. So it's, again, that cleaner, sleeker look. You're going to notice on this guy here that it is charcoal metallic. So this is a really popular color over the last couple of years. White is standard. Anytime you change, go to a different color. There's an upcharge, but the charcoal metallic's been really popular. Black is another popular one. They just came out with a brand new Caribou, which is a brown metallic that matches the Ford Caribou color. You know, silver metallic. You can do a polished. You can do a custom color. You can do a lot of different options as far as the colors on these actual trailers themselves. But the charcoal works really well with a lot of the color combinations in the new tow vehicles. And I also love it too because it's not maybe like the black that's going to really show that dirt as much. It kind of hides it a little bit. Obviously, depending on the day, if the sun's out and hitting the side of it, it's going to look more, you know, charcoal, you know, like a dark gray. And then if you get it in, you know, in the shade, it might darken it up a little bit, look a little bit more black type of a scenario. But again, it's a really good look to the trailer itself. Now, front tack trim on this guy's a 6-footer. You have your side ramp going into it. We need a minimum of a 5-foot front tack room for the proper bracing in order to put a side ramp going in there. But if you're wheeling up upright boxes, blower carts, fan carts, portable gins, whatever you need to, it's so much simpler to go up this ramp than have to lift everything into this trailer. So again, you can wheel them up the ramp and then come into this 6-foot front tack room that we have here. 6 foot's probably the more common and what you'll see in our inventory. Obviously, we can make these different sizes. We've some Seen some customers go bigger, but a 6 foot works really well. It's a giant game of Tetris when we're bringing everything into these trailers. So to get everything to fit side by side, obviously a 6 foot versus a 5 foot has 1 extra foot of length to it. But when you go to stack stuff side by side, it works so much better to have the 6 foot. And that was customer feedback that we got. So we've kind of just rolled with it and kind of go with these 6 footers for a lot of our inventory. And again, it works really well with this 30 foot on the floor setup. But in here, you're gonna have rubber mats on the floor. So a lot easier to clean up. You're gonna have the bigger boot box over here. So it's 18 inches. We went partial way across. This works as a great place for catch-all smaller items to throw in there. We like the 18-inch boot box versus the 12 if we can, because our larger buckets will actually fit in here because of the actual framework and the little bit of lip that we're gonna have for the actual lid and the opening. So those guys will set right in there, but you can use it as a bench. You can use it to hop up into the gooseneck area, which up here you have a ton of storage space. This guy being, 8 foot wide, it really widens the nose, so you have a ton of storage up here in the nose. We have carpet on the deck and carpet on the drop wall. We put a light up in the nose. Again, it's a deep nose, it's a wide nose. Let's try to get a lot of lighting in here, but it's a great place for storage. Over to the right, you're gonna notice that storage tray. That is gonna be for our plexiglass. So I'll show you the plexiglass when we get on the outside of the trailer again, but that's where those items can store right there. And then we've got the 4-inch tube that goes across. So if you throw items in there and they shift, you don't have to worry about them coming off the edge. It'll hold them in there. It just unpins. So if you don't want it, necessarily keep it in the trailer, you can actually take it out and store it somewhere. That way it's out of the way. You've got a clothes rod up here so we can hang some clothes in here. Maybe it's not taking up space in the back of the truck while you're traveling. Maybe you're showing off the trailer. Kids can hop in here, change into a show shirt, and off they go. So storage area there for it. It's framed for an air conditioner. All their front tack rooms just come standard with the framework there. So if you ever wanted to add an air conditioner or even a 12 volt vent, or even a camper style manual vent, they all have the same footprint. So that will save a lot of time and money by actually having that done when the trailer's manufactured. Then obviously we have 2 points of entry here. We have our side ramp you saw, and then we have a man door. I always tell customers I would like a secondary point of access, whether it's a pass-through door on the partition wall or this door over here, because if that ramp does get shut and someone's in here, they can't get out. So for safety purposes, I like that. But this over here is now street side, where our ramp is curb side. So if you have to stop in traffic for some reason, you need to sneak in here, you still can. You can just open up, crack that door and step in here if need be. So it's a great, access point in those type of scenarios. You're gonna have lights above each door as well. We wanted to emphasize, plenty of light in here. Again, you're working in these trailers a lot of times in the dark. Again, customer feedback. We build these, and we built him a trailer, and he goes, hey, on my next one, he said, I'd love to have, light switches that are easily to, access. That way, when you just step in this door right here, again, you can crack this guy, reach in, turn on these lights. You're not gonna regret having a lot of lights on trailers. Again, you will be doing items in the dark, all kinds of tasks. Maybe you're unloading, you get into a show, and you have to unload. Having these lights on here, these big OptiBright lights are fantastic. They put out a ton of light, not a big power draw. This was a light we were constantly upgrading to our inventory with, depending on availability during the last few years. Sometimes we couldn't get them, but we'd always put an LED, but we always tried to put the OptiBrights on. Now this is a standard feature as well here. On our partition wall, we've got these big utility hooks. So these are not your typical bridle hooks that we've moved from the horse trailers over. Cimarron did a good job on going through and saying, hey, let's build something specifically for the livestock customers, because we understand you're gonna have big hoses and big cords, and you need a place to store them, and those bridle hooks were just too small. Everything wanted to fall off, or you had to use so many of the hooks and they're almost pointless. But these are aluminum powder coated, so there's 4 per section, really good width between them, height, and then depth off the wall. So again, you want to throw a big hose or a cord up there, you got a place to store it, and then some carpet behind it to protect it. So the ramps have nice heavy duty springs. So when you let it go, it actually wants to suck into the trailer itself. Our man door and then our ramps, these will actually all be one key. So we can lock this trailer up, you know, by the man door over here on these side ramps with one key, you know, securing them. You're gonna have a 16-inch awning light above the front tack ramp, and then there's another one over by the side ramp going in the stall area. So again, plenty of light coverage. Again, you're gonna enjoy it. We went ahead and added a few more button lights to the top rail. This is a nice trailer. Let's dress it up a little bit more. So we put a few of those guys on there. It looks really cool at night when it's all lit up. Now we shifted this ramp back. You probably noticed. Sometimes this ramp is actually located directly behind the partition wall. Well, what we've learned is it's better for us to shift it back a little bit, get it just ahead of the axles there, because when that ramp is up this direction, we weren't getting airflow into the cabs in this front stall area. Air travels. So by shifting it back and then also putting these air gaps here, now we can get air into these cabs in the front stall and then work it backwards from there. You have the 3 air gaps. So you have 2 uppers and a lower. So this is the plexiglass. The inserts are built into all their stock trailers. But if you wanted to, you know, take sections out, take out the lower, leave the upper, whatever you want, you can take them out piece by piece. Now, one tip that I'll give you is when you go to take this plexiglass out, keep track of it, because when you go to put it back in, it'll make life so much easier and faster to actually reinstall all this plexiglass versus not knowing where the heck it goes. Best example I can give you is, it is a puzzle that you cannot see the picture to. So when you take out your upper passenger side, you take it all out together, you take a painter's tape or a masking tape and you write on there passenger upper, and then do the same for the middle, and then same for the lower, and then put those sections in that storage tray up front, because when you go to put them back in, again, it's going to save you so much time and frustration. I've been on this lot on smaller trailers putting plexiglass in for a half hour trying to figure out where all the pieces go, taking pieces out, reinstalling them. Again, that storage tray will also protect them as well. So if you throw like a fan up in the nose, it's not just hitting the plexiglass and breaking it. Put it in that storage tray itself. But you've got those 3 upper, the 2 upper air gaps that are bigger, and then the lower one. The lower one for calves is fantastic because, you know, a calf's chest floor or their radiator, so let's get some airflow down there to them, keeping them nice and cool and comfortable. So we have our ramp going into the stall area here. And as we come in, you're going to notice rubber mats on the floor on this guy here. And on these, we like to put 2 traveling gates. When we first built these, you know, a lot of them had one traveling gate at the front and then a fixed gate at the back. Those days are gone. We pretty much do everything multiple traveling gates to give you the flexibility. That way you can create one stall area, 2 or 3, you know, separate compartments as far as the stall area is concerned by having 2 traveling gates. The first one here is actually shoved up against the partition wall. We could roll the second one up here so you could have one big open space, or in this instance, we have one kind of favored towards the back. We've got a big middle area, and then this one is stored up against the wall. But again, flexibility and versatility are the big things here. So maybe you're hauling some younger heifers, some big breds, maybe hauling a bull, maybe you got a cow-calf pair, maybe some different weight steers. Just, it gives you a lot of flexibility to be able to separate and not waste a bunch of stall space too. With a fixed gate, you wanted to put a bull in a 10-foot area, or you're putting a cow-calf pair in that area, or one heifer, you're wasting space. So you can actually adjust these dividers, shrink that down, giving a little bit more space somewhere else. So it is nice that the traveling gate option, it goes off this upper rail. I'll show you how it works here in a second. But you have just so much flexibility, and again, it's so easy to use. Now, one upgrade that we did to ours is we went with these jail bars. As vertical jail bars going upright, more airflow. This is an option that we actually brought over from the horse world and put on the cattle trailers. We do so many jail bars, airflow dividers on theirs, that we want to do the same thing, give it a little bit more airflow. But as you can see, I can unpin. And as long as you're somewhat in the middle, just kind of being nice and balanced, we can roll this guy forward, pick a location, lock it into place, and it's that simple. We also went with no threshold, so there's no bar for the cattle to have to step over. And on this trailer, we did both 48-inch wide swing gates. They swing both directions, so it's really easy to work on and off this trailer by having the 48-inch wide swing gates. Now there is a slider option as well. The slider option is a popular one as well. The only downfall to it is that the opening's a little bit smaller, because we have to have the proper bracing on the sides, so that slider opening's a little bit smaller. So, you know, we always just try to think like, okay, if you're going to squeeze a big bred heifer through there, a big fat steer, you know, I'd rather have a little bit more of an opening. So we went the 48-inch wide, no threshold in these instances. So these gates can be set on every post. You will notice that the larger posts, where you're going to see, you know, actual the larger posts for wheel wells, door openings, there's going to be the notch. So that will actually lock around on those posts there, but all the rest, it actually just locks around them. So again, you've got the flexibility. We run this track just a couple feet off the back. So again, you can really work both directions and changing these you know, compartment sizes all you want. If you wanted to add a third gate, you could to this trailer. So the track's there. Now you're not going to have the storage up ahead of that escape door for the third one, but you could shove the first two and then utilize the third one if you want. But again, giving you flexibility on this trailer itself. Now, wheel wells are tapered. Again, we were tapering the ends, so we didn't have these 90-degree corners here. That is now a standard feature on the Stierwalt model. So there's taper to those guys there. We try to avoid 90-degree angles, you know, sharp points, anything like that. So definitely a nice feature there. You're going to have an upper tie rail and a lower tie rail. So if you want to tie your calves up a little bit, you can. If you want to tie them down, you've got that flexibility there as well. We've got a set of switches right in here for these OptiBrite lights. So we have more OptiBrite lights here in the stall area, but we can come in the actual escape ramp, turn these guys on or off. There's also light switches at the back, so we can turn on stall area, and then this side of the trailer over here. And then from there, when we go to the roof, what you've got is you've got a standard roof that comes on every single Cimarron. Doesn't matter what make, size, everything has this roof. So it's a 1/2 inch thick honeycomb design. It has an R3 thermal value up top. It is strong. It will take 150 pounds per square foot. So it'll take substantial hail. The other thing is it'll keep this stall area cooler. The first one that Kirk actually designed with Cimarron was 6'8" tall. We were trying to get the heat away from calves. But then this insulated roof, they realized it keeps this stall area 20% cooler versus those aluminum sheeted roofs. We don't need that extra height if we don't need it. So we actually went down to 6'4" tall. So it'll keep your calves so much cooler, especially in those summer months, by having this roof. And then you have two-way roof vents. So we can manipulate airflow. There's 8 of them. So we can open them up, create a vacuum through here. Winter months, you want to open them facing backwards and let that air release if you want to. You've got that capability as well. But in here, again, really well equipped in this stall area. The 2 traveling gates are phenomenal. That is one of the most favorite things that we see a lot of customers really like is, again, it really changes the way that they can actually utilize the trailer. You know, there's a lot of times customers will show multiple species and hey, maybe we're going to throw a couple hogs on, maybe a couple lambs, couple goats. They're not going to take up the stall size near what the calves are. So again, we can shrink down those areas and not waste a big section of the actual trailer itself. Again, you saw how easy that was to lift up. Another upgrade we like to put on ours, especially these 8 wide longer trailers, is an amber turn signal. So that guy there will indicate when we hit our turn signals, our brakes, and also work as a big marker light for us. But this is for those not customers, the other people on the road that don't pay attention to our customers, the trailer customers, that maybe our tail light, they don't see the blinker, they don't see the truck blinker. This guy here will indicate, hey, I'm trying to get over. So that's a nice little upgrade there. Now, axles. As you can see, this guy's a spread axle. So not only is it air ride, but it is the spread axle. So it has that 12-inch spread. This trailer pulls phenomenally well. By having the spread, it really helps weight distribution, helps tongue weight on the truck, but more importantly, just the overall ride. It's going to ride, you know, more similar to a triple axle. Those trailers pull phenomenally well. You know, for instance, you know, if this tire over here hits a big pothole, something along those lines, that back axle is still on flat ground. By the time it transitions out and recovers, the other one's in it, so it makes for a smoother ride. Not only that, you have the air ride. The air ride is phenomenal. If you want to know about it, just ask some customers that are pulling these trailers. The most common thing we hear from our customers, I'll never own another trailer without air ride. That's how much they believe in it, and they'll never go back. It is unbelievable. You know, the amount of money and time we spend with these calves that we're going to put on this trailer, we want them to be able to compete at the highest level, step off this trailer fresh, you know, not have to worry about recovery time. We hear that quite a few, you know, from a lot of customers, is maybe we don't have to leave a day early because of how well the calves ride. They'll lay down like they're in the barn. You know, it's an amazing ride for them. So what you actually have is you actually have rubber torsion axles, the Airflex system from Dexter, rubber torsion axles, shock kit, and then the bag. So if something happens to our air ride, the compressor, a line, a bag, the trailer sits down just like it is right now, and you can move the trailer, go get things addressed. When we air it up, it's actually going to pick it up 2.5, 3 inches, somewhere in that ballpark. I always recommend the customers have it aired down when we're loading and unloading calves, same with equipment, because if you air it up, it makes the ramp steeper and bigger steps. So it's better to just go ahead and lower it, do what we need to, and then fire up the air ride and raise it right before we leave when it actually goes to pick up. We have electric brakes on this guy. You also have the 17.5-inch mod wheels. Those are SRWs is what these are. And then an 18-ply Continental tire. So awesome running gear underneath this. They're two 8Ks with this Airflex system. Again, the air ride is phenomenal. Again, we have plenty of customers that we could get you in touch with that will tell you what they think about the air ride and what it's done for them. Now at the back of the trailer, we've just got a standard gate with a slider, but we added one little option to our inventory that we just like. Because the trailer is 8 foot wide, it allows us to make this opening 36 inches with the slider gate. And again, we're just trying to think of, we want a bigger opening for big breads, big fats, a bull, anything like that. If we're up against an alleyway or we butt up against another trailer, moving them across, making this wider makes a big difference. On your narrower trailers, we can't allow the door to go too far, so you get this hardware in the middle or in this opening. We don't want that. So we really tried to maximize that space, really open it up for you. Again, on these 8 wide trailers, we really try to put these 36-inch wide openings for you. You're gonna have some load lights at the back. So again, we have them on the side, the rear, plenty on the inside, but you have 2 of those guys here at the back. You'll notice on the tail lights, there's a white X in the middle. And we were constantly putting backup lights on our inventory. Cimarron went and found a built-in tail light with a backup light already in it. Our tow vehicle is a long ways from the back of this trailer, so we weren't really getting, you know, the benefits of it by having that light back here. So now when we throw it in reverse, these guys will light up. The one thing that I liked, what I really like about these are it's a more consistent light coverage, and versus when we had just the single backup light. The single backup light was like, take a flashlight and hold it right here. It's really bright right in that one area. But then if you move it back, you get light more consistently all over the place. And that's what you get when you have these into these back tail lights. So definitely a nice feature there. Here's those other light switches. So you have them here at the back to turn, you know, interior, stall lights, each load lights on the sides individually on and off. Same thing, you're gonna have load lights. You have one between the wheel well, and then one kind of between that access door going into the stall area and then that man door. So you have good light coverage there between the two. Tie rails, high and low. So we have an upper tie rail and lower tie rail. So you can actually utilize this as to tie calves out, or again, if you're showing off of it, you know, you want to put some panels against it or just tie a calf up, you can. Secure a pop-up tent, you know, those type of options. We've kind of seen a little bit of everything, but nice to have that there. And then you have that access door to get into that stall area if you need. Same thing, you can lock it up with the exact same key as the side ramps, and then also the tack door itself. With it being 8 foot wide, you're not gonna have any running board. So we put a fold-up step on both these doors since you don't have that running board. So if you need to hop into the front tack area or into that stall area, you have those. They're just on a gas shock, so they're really easy to flip up and down. And then again, that charcoal color to the trailer. This one here is mill finish. So there's a version that has the polished stainless and then the mill finish. A lot of our customers that live down dirt roads kind of prefer the mill finish just because it's not quite as much of upkeep as like the polish is. The polish, you have to, you know, I mean, when you wash it with citrus, not acid, those you're better to hand dry or hop in the truck and go 80 down the interstate and let it kind of air dry a little bit. Or in this instance here on the mill finish, you can acid wash these guys here. So a little bit more forgiving on the mill finish versus the polish. It just depends on what look you want. But this one here will have the mill. So again, a good looking trailer, really well equipped. It kind of covers the basis of that big tack, your air ride, the spread axle, the multiple traveling gates. Again, extremely well set up. So I'm gonna give you the stock number on this guy. Again, it's a 2025 Cimarron Stierwalt Signature Series 30-foot air ride, 5N241701. So we do take trade-ins. So if you're looking to upgrade or downsize, we can help you there. Delivery is an option, so we could potentially bring it to your doorstep, and financing is available as well. And again, we've got others on hand, on order like this, different price points. So give us a call. Anybody on the sales team can help you out. That number is 303-684-3400. Appreciate you tuning in. Have a good day.